another edition of What the Fuck Happening's YouTube Atheist Community, and who knows where people are chatting. Yeah, no. Anyway, they haven't been doing the talk thing. Haven't seen any of it, so that's really good. Yeah, so avoid it and it won't piss me off. Anyway, so, just an update video. I guess that's what the fuck will be. It's just an update video of some kind. I'm gonna combine 3 subjects or 4 videos or something like that eventually. Once I get this little update part over with. So anyway, just been busy, and what else is there? Oh yeah, the lawsuit thing. Yeah, with Wikipedia. Still haven't decided, so I guess I have to decide sometime this week. I guess. It just seems like a lot of work, and I just don't know if I want to get myself caught up in all that crap. I have so much to do, so we'll see. Yeah, so on to the videos. So, where to begin? I still haven't finished the Trick Holiday video, so maybe we'll begin there. And, you know, this conversation, like, you know, just an hour's worth of conversation to keep going over this simple point. I'm conscious, I've experienced sensations, I know the difference between good ones and bad ones. I'm sorry you don't, but I do. And it's a fact, okay? I don't need to have a philosophical conversation about it. I don't need to prove it in some way or do any of that kind of shit. I've had the experiences. The word bad is perfectly suitable as a way to describe the bad feelings, and good is a perfectly suitable way to describe the good feelings. I really don't need any of this bullshit. So you need to talk about it because you can't figure it out? Well, that's fundamentally your problem. And I think you're just absolutely full of shit if you can't do exactly what I'm doing, which is tell the difference. And know that the word is suitable as a description. That we know that the negative consumes the positive. The value of the positive is consumed by the negative. So Holiday keeps using idiotic and inane analogies for the word positive and negative, like electricity or you know, charge or something, when we know that that is in fact stealing from the original positive and negative. I think the original positive and negative was the concept of a negative number which consumes the positive number. It's a negative condition, consumes positive value, and that's what a negative does. So we really shouldn't have to talk about it anymore. So anyway, I'll play a little bit of this. Just, I don't know where this is. Where I left off is where it is.
Down to agreeing, yeah, right, and about agreeing. If you agree to know what an instrument is, what a measurement is, and so on and so forth, then we can communicate, right? And
so this is where Holiday is full of shit, and the fact that all words have to reduce, and they reduce to a circularity somewhere. Somewhere there has to be the intrinsic thing, the conceptual thing, that the words reduce to. All words are basically defined by other words. So there's a built-in circularity, but it's a necessity of naming things, identifying them. And fundamentally, if you really trace the idea of good and bad, it originates with this idea of suffering. This idea that something will be put in a negative condition, a deprivation, a harm will fall upon them. This goes back to the biblical language. That's the intrinsic function. Heaven and hell is not an accident. Okay? There was description of a place where good things happen to you, where you have pleasant feelings, and a place where you don't have pleasant feelings. We've always understood this concept. It is the origin of good and bad having meaning. Idiot.
Generally, they're reasonable agreements. Me and you were trying to reach agreement about bad, and you're asserting, right?
Okay, so you don't agree that suffering is bad?
Yes.
If you agree to know what an instrument is, what a measurement is, and so on and so forth, then we can communicate, right? And generally, they're reasonable agreements. Me and you were trying to reach agreement about bad, and you're asserting, right?
Okay, so you don't agree that suffering is bad?
Adam?
Are you saying, I just want to be clear here, you don't agree that suffering is bad?
Not in the way you mean it.
What is suffering?
Suffering is a state that persons are in when they're being physically or mentally harmed, as their nervous system would report to them.
Yeah, they're being harmed as their nervous system would report to them. That sounds bad. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Sounds like bad.
Yeah.
So a comatose person can be suffering?
I don't know about the strict medical definitions about whether they can suffer.
Oh, yeah, whatever. I don't know the strict. This is just such a pile of shit. Just such game playing. We know that we suffer when we're conscious, not when we're unconscious. So this is just all such a silly game he's playing. Oh, it's pathetic. So anyway, let's move on. Oh, where to go with all this stuff? So somebody posted on my video a link to this douchebag. Cognitive science, Donald Hoffman is trying to answer the big question. Do we experience the world as it really is? So he's making some idiotic argument that somehow evolution doesn't tend to make us realists, in that there's not a tendency in evolution for our senses to acquire accurate understanding of reality. And he does this in this silly way. I mean, the example is some bug in Australia that confused Coke bottles with girls, beer bottles, and so this story doesn't even make any sense, right? Because even if males were distracted having sex with beer bottles, it seems unlikely that females weren't going to find anybody interested. I mean, really. And that whatever males that did find the actual females, they would be highly rewarded genetically. So it doesn't seem like it would take very long for the bug to recover from its mistake. And somehow this means something. So he's making a comparison with fitness. So he's going back to evolution in the sense of evolution's description of fitness. And his description of fitness includes reproduction, where obviously you can be a pretty fit, a pretty realistic organism. You can have a pretty realistic perception of reality, and that might not be conducive to replication being the priority. And you know, so just by that very standard, so he puts a bunch of synthetic computer organisms in different environments and says, see, they always turn out to go for fitness, not realism. And his setup is just flawed right from the start. You know what I'm saying? When you're, well, you don't know what I'm saying, because if I tried to explain how convoluted this nonsense is, you'd never be able to follow. But it's back to that bug example, that somehow these bugs were a demonstration of not getting reality right, because they're not programmed in a complex manner to have sex. They only need a few visual signals for millions of years to get it right, and it wasn't until humans came along and threw beer bottles around that it fucked their game. So it's really, it'd be kind of stupid to say that a bug survives for millions of years just fine, and the test is it can't survive beer bottles. I mean, that isn't really a description of a failed realist. But anyway, let's play some of this. He's just so full of shit.
Those perceptions of reality go extinct. Now, this is a bit stunning. How can it be that not seeing the world accurately gives us a survival advantage?
See, he's saying it's not seeing the world accurately. Like somehow a bug is expected to know what it's doing when it's procreating, which it doesn't. It's supposed to know what the purpose is, which it doesn't. Even high mammals don't know what the purpose is. They'll fuck dead things. You know, they'll fuck all kinds of stuff, and it really isn't an expose on the quality of our senses. So really what he's trying to get to is somehow our senses aren't refined to glean the maximum amount of information out of the environment. And he won't say that directly, but that's the implications of his nonsense. And that argument can be so easily defeated in the sense of just how well our senses do work, how much information our eyesight gleans. It gleans the maximum amount of information. It's it focuses in on the distinctions and details of the electromagnetic spectrum of light, and it gleans out the ones that have the most information. And our hearing does that. Okay, it hears the ones that there's the most high quality information built into it. Our senses are incredibly well adapted to acquiring quality information. And then our brain's ability to abstract that, to create 3 dimensions, do all kinds of other things, is just, there's no way you can challenge that as not being an incredibly well coherent sense apparatus. Now, the fact that we have boogeymen built into our instinct, like we're afraid of snakes or spiders, maybe from birth, that fact doesn't have anything to do with whether or not we're really good at building realistic models of reality.
That is a bit counterintuitive. But remember the jewel beetle. The jewel beetle survived for thousands, perhaps millions of years using simple tricks and hacks.
Yeah, and that's what we do too, and most men know it. Most men know when they're having sex that they're not often having sex with a person. You know, they're just having sex with the parts.
Equations of evolution are telling us is that all organisms, including us, are in the same boat as the jewel beetle. We do not see reality as it is. We're shaped with tricks and hacks.
Yeah, well, desire doesn't really have anything to do with seeing reality, idiot. And none of this applies to intelligent organisms anyway, because their perception of reality is outside of evolution. It's in books. Okay, it's written in paper. It's propositions describing reality. It has nothing to do with any of this crap. I mean, I can't believe this is what they call this guy, some kind of scientist.
Every day, we receive 500 million calls.
In the ass.
The jewel beetle survived for thousands, perhaps millions of years using simple tricks and hacks. What the equations of evolution are telling us is that all organisms, including us, are in the same boat as the jewel beetle. We do not see reality as it is. We're shaped with tricks and hacks that keep us alive.
It's not that they keep us alive. No, you again, see, I'm sure his game theory bullshit, the whatever bullshit fake world he created where these things competed and the ones that were designed for fitness outperformed those designed for reality perception, it all has to do with reproduction. I mean, obviously reproduction is one of the hacks because smart things don't reproduce for no good reason. I mean, if sea turtles knew that most of their children were going to die, maybe they wouldn't have any.
Still, we need some help with our intuitions. How can not perceiving reality as it is...
Right, so he's talking about perceiving reality as it is, and he's talking about bugs' sexual habits. Now, can you get a little bit obtuse or what? Like that's perceiving reality as it is? Yeah, I mean, a bug is supposed to be able to identify things in the environment. Bugs are scientists now?
Be useful.
I mean, I think they're probably better scientists than this asshole.
Well, fortunately, we have a very helpful metaphor. The desktop interface on your computer.
Oh, please.
Consider that blue icon for a TED Talk that you're writing. Now, the icon is blue and rectangular and in the lower right corner of the desktop. Does that mean that the text file itself in the computer is blue, rectangular, and in the lower right-hand corner of the computer?
Oh, whatever. So this is how you define perceiving reality, is abstractions that, again, we've understood. We understand the concept of folder. We understand the concept that the don't judge a book by its cover, blah, blah, blah. What does this nonsense have to do with anything? You know, perceiving reality-wise. And are we fooled? No. So why is he making this argument?
Of course not. Anyone who thought that misinterprets the purpose of the interface. It's not there to show you the reality of the computer. In fact, it's there to hide that reality. You don't want to know about the diodes and resistors and all the megabytes of software. If you had to deal with that...
Yeah, well, the fact that you're just saying diodes and resistors and not integrated circuits kind of just is telling right there, Mr. Scientist.
You could never write your text file or edit your photo. So the idea is that evolution has given us an interface that hides reality and guides adaptive behavior.
Oh, whatever. I mean, can you believe that? That there's no hiding of reality. There's only the fact that it has to contrive us purpose and mission statements that have nothing to do with us actually thinking about it. So yes, we survive because dying doesn't look like any fun, and we have sex because not having sex doesn't look like having any fun. Yeah, pretty much. But this is just such a crock of crap. Alright, anyway, I'll get back to this eventually. So in the other crock of crap category, so anyway, somebody posted a link to Nietzsche, right? So it's this, I don't know, 12 minutes. It's only 12 minutes of Nietzsche. Have we really become more moral? And it's just one of Nietzsche's typical rags, you know, where everybody else is doing it wrong. So because some charities are bad, all charity is bad. You know, because there's some institutionalized, let's say, welfare, that means the right answer was, you know, that some of these are unsolvable dilemmas of becoming aware. So ironically, you know, compared to the other guy's video, here we are, become aware, and through that awareness, we attempt to resolve these conflicts once and for all, kind of a thing, and to deal with the fact that there's real harm. So, you know, Nietzsche just bitches, you know, about the welfare state, let's say. But what's his solution? Right? His solution is kill them. He doesn't even say anything rational, like, well, I mean, or explicitly rational, like actually spell it out. So, but we already had the case study of the Nazis when it comes to this whole stupid, you know, breeding thing, you know, and that you have to preserve the genetic pool idea and all that kind of stuff, and that's and we see that it's just doomed to failure. It's really hard to do that because people's bigotries are going to get thrown into it. And so, you know, if you can do it in some way where you're not being bigoted, well, then it might make sense to say, yes, the poorest people on Earth probably shouldn't be doing most of the breeding because they're poor. Okay, and that's a definition of fitness. Okay, and they failed one of these fitness definitions. And certainly all the disabled people, all the people that have some sort of genetic defect, they've had to have surgery to save their life. People like that, people who've had massive depressions in their life, they probably shouldn't breed, because they probably should be recognizing that they genetically have a disposition, and that disposition could manifest in their child in some way where they don't escape, they don't get rescued. Okay, they have a faint and they fall off the Titanic, and they have to get rescued. That is kind of funny. But anyway, you know, so the boat can sink. But anyway, but I'm just saying, but Nietzsche offers no solution. He just basically says, be an asshole, be a selfish fuck, that we're supposed to just play some survival of the fittest game and not be capable of understanding that the game we're playing is insidious and that the rules we're playing it by are insidious. And instead of saying something about a commentary about that, a commentary about capitalism even, we just got a rag on weakness. And, you know, this is coming from a guy who died of fucking whatever, typhoid Mary, syphilis or something.
Life, that is to say, a fuller, more prodigal, more superabundant sort of life. It might have been called by another.
Sorry, all these videos have to reload apparently.
Perhaps cowardice. Or
yeah, he calls it senility. So he's using, you know, he says another problem with Nietzsche. He uses all this language that's just so overdone, overcooked, You know, and all these little short rags. I'll have to just try reloading and see if it does that. Browser trouble. Sorry, probably should have done this ahead of time. Come on. Come on, YouTube. It reloaded it and then it did this. I'll reload it again. And then I'll reload it again. Why are you doing that? You retarded? I think YouTube shouldn't breed because it is kind of retarded. Yeah, YouTube's retarded. Shouldn't breed. Dun, 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 dun. Starting from the beginning again. Fucking cunt. So we'll just pick a place here and say, let's just start here.
In such circumstances, everybody gives everybody else a helping hand, and, to a certain extent, everybody is either an invalid or an invalid's attendant. This is then...
Yeah, I don't know why this guy chose Civil War images. I guess it's Revolutionary War. Well, no, Civil War blue. Anyway, well, they have guns with that look more, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. You can't really tell. Anyway, I can't tell. Anyway, so yeah, so we're all a bunch of invalids and the caretakers of invalids, and again, Nietzsche wasn't exactly, you know, I don't know, Mr. Man, I don't think, but who knows. I don't think so. I don't think you can maintain that mustache in the real world. But I'm just saying this is a real dilemma, right? There's no answer to this problem, you know, unless you want to be a bug. So if bug ethics are good enough, fine. But if you're rational, you understand the ethic of the only distinction between me and it is circumstances for which I can gain no. I'm just taking advantage of a lucky circumstance. And if we're going to let luck decide welfare, that would be really not a great idea. It's not very intelligent. So I mean, you could do a rag on that. Well, I'm just saying my counter rag isn't a very. I didn't do this very articulately. But I mean, this whole idea that this is some sort of problem Nietzsche has a solution to in any other manner, but then just to say, let's become cockroaches. Fuck that. Why bother being smart if you're going to be a cockroach?
Called virtue. Among those men who knew a different life, that is to say, a fuller, more prodigal, more superabundant sort of life. It might have been called by another name. Perhaps cowardice, or vileness, or old woman's morality. Our mollification of morals, this is my cry. This, if you will, is my innovation. Is the outcome of our decline. Conversely, hardness and terribleness in morals may be the result of a surplus of life. When the latter...
I don't know. See, I mean, it all just sounds like such gobbledygook. You know, just the premises built into it, the assumptions. Every time there's always going to be plenty of bad around. But the fact that we have fixed a lot of bad, it's just true. It's just a fact. You know, and going back to some kind of time where you could own your wife or you could buy one at 10 years old is sort of bullshit, Nietzsche. You fucking using child molesting motherfucking cunt. That's all he's advocating for. Is somehow going back to some kind of, you know, hero's world.
Her state prevails. Much is dared, much is challenged, and much is also squandered. That which formerly was simply...
Cliche, 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 cliche. They're all just cliches. They have nothing to do with reality. Yes, much was squandered, much was this, much was that, blah, 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 blah. Yes, civilization, you pay for it. It's not free, right? So we become more civilized. Now we spend more of our time in crutches and dying and debilitated. and that's not good. We could fix that. We just haven't gotten around to it yet. We have fixed a lot of things. We have.
The assault of life would now be our poison. To be indifferent, even this is a form of strength. For that, likewise, we are too senile, too decrepit.
Yeah, too decrepit to be insensitive. You know, like that's just beautiful, isn't it? No, it's stupid.
Our morality of fellow feeling, against which I was the first to raise a finger of warning, that which might be called moral impressionism, is one symptom the more of the excessive physiological irritability which is peculiar to everything decadent. That movement which attempted to introduce itself in a scientific manner on the shoulders of Schopenhauer's morality of pity, a very sad attempt, is
Schopenhauer's morality of pity. I mean, is that a fair description? I don't think it is. There's, you can't play the game. It's a consumption game. And you're just saying it's okay, just kill them all. He's just saying.
in its essence the movement of decadence in morality, and as such it is intimately related to Christian morality. Strong.
No, I think you're the one intimately related to the Christian morality. Your obsession with getting to your heaven, your mega man paradise, where you're going to have the same damn problem. You're still going to have a need that needs satiating. You're not going to just say, hey, I'm on top of the mountain, I'm going to stay there forever. That's not going to happen. You're going to have the same dilemma, that it's a hunger game and you have to be hungry. Get to that cliche. Yeah, why don't you work on that one, Nietzsche? It's a hunger game. And you won't escape it by filling your pocket full of everybody else's diamonds.
Ages and noble cultures see something contemptible in pity, in the love of one's neighbor, and in a lack of egoism and of self-esteem.
Yeah, we need, well, yeah, you know, there's just, that's the biggest flaw in all of progress, is that people have lost their sense of aggrandizement and ego gratification. Yeah, sure they have. Everybody thinks they're an artist now. Everybody thinks they're fucking brilliant. And they haven't done, you know, any work to demonstrate it. So anyway, on to the next one. I ought to be logical, that's mine. Okay, this asshole. Whoops, this person here. So, otherizing goodness. So, otherized badness, I suppose, I don't know. But it's this whole idea that we should, that somehow we're supposed to be value neutral. That we can't tell right from wrong, that we can't tell a good idea from a bad idea. That there's no such thing. It's just such a crock of shit.
In his magic world. And you can do that if you're cynically, ruthlessly sarcastic enough. You can basically turn anything nice, anything.
I believe he was talking about me in this little section of shit. So let's see if we can actually go back. Oh man, YouTube just sucks.
Live?
There we go.
So of course the dark side goes on the attack. And the dark side can do all kinds of interesting things. It can
So it's this whole idea that we're full of this compulsive, but the fact that we have the capacity to energize, you know, when we have to get angry, and that there's power in anger, sure, or hate, sure. So what? I mean, there's nothing to be gleaned from that as information, beyond the fact that, yes, increase the motivation, you increase the strength. You know, how much you're willing to sacrifice. But it works both ways. Love will do the same thing as hate. Love will have people jumping in front of traffic to, you know, protect someone.
all the good things that, you know, our more sublime nature likes into complete garbage. I call that the ad endum effect. Gary can actually wave his excremental wand and turn everything into something foul and disgusting.
I love that. Excremental wand. Yeah. Yeah, I like waving it. The wand. Anyway, so this idea that, yeah, I'll turn your ambition into shit. That's true. And I'll turn your perception of accomplishment or worthiness, or that somehow you're worth it. Yeah, I'll turn all that into shit. I will excrement on it. I will shit on that shit. Because it's shit. It's a place to shit. It's a pile of shit, and it should be shat upon. So, yeah, I'm okay with that description. But, at the same time, I am not just tearing down. I'm not just bragging on what exists. I'm praising the truth. I'm praising facts. I'm praising the idea that we should look at evolution. We should look at the mechanism, the game that it creates. We should understand the rules of that game and how it's developed our psychology. And that through doing that, we can release ourselves from this trapped psychology of incessant acquisition, incessant insatiation. The fact that we're designed to be unsatisfied. If we recognize that, then we don't fall into the trap of it. And there's power in that.
Love, compassion, all this kind of thing, all become garbage in his magic world.
Well, you know, he's saying that in the sense that obviously I'm for caring for all the things that are being harmed, including his own children. I'd almost argue in a deeper way than he probably cares. But what I'm trivializing is the bigotry and the subjectivity, the individuality idea of that we shall apportion our care and our love based on standards that have nothing to do with the thing itself being appreciated for what it is, but rather are just projections, okay, of elements of our psychology that are still insectoid, that are still doing the DNA thing. Yeah, if you're loving based on a fitness DNA model of reality, rather than a model that recognizes that the qualities of value or worth are in the child, not in the possession of the child. Yeah, big difference. And it's sort of a cheat to say I'm anti-compassion or anti-love. I'm just anti-silly words.
And you can do that if you're cynically, ruthlessly sarcastic enough. You can basically turn anything nice, anything good with...
I mean, it's just so ironic, right? I mean, that's all Nietzsche did, and this guy's just Nietzsche's whatever. What was Nietzsche's word for that? You know, getting reborn. This is just Nietzsche regurgitated. Yeah, the regurgitation of Nietzsche, and that's all he did was rag. And he only ragged about how I want and I can't get this pussy society that has all these umpires, and you know, they're always throwing red flags when I go kick the guy in the nuts. Yeah, it doesn't let me cheat. Fuck those guys. Cheating's fun. Being stupid is fun.
Kind of interesting commodity that rarely gets discussed here, even though we know all about the bad things, but the good never gets mentioned. Even Benatar's.
The good. Again, the good in what form? Ambition? I mean, really. Kids wanting Christmas presents. That's a good thing. Addiction. Perpetual addictions. That's a good thing? No, I think that's something to be understood. as a syndrome. And syndromes aren't necessarily good very often.
Be sneaky in that regard, unless of course his mind is so constructed that he doesn't even see any goodness in this universe.
Well, I'm just saying Benatar is logical. So Benatar is saying there's no need to make machines that need. So how could there possibly be a good? You can't give somebody food if they don't have a stomach to put it in. I mean, you just can't. The universe doesn't have a stomach. The universe doesn't need us to comfort it. We can't fix a dilemma it has. There's no problems. We show up and make the problem of satiation. We need a stomach. We need a stomach. We need food to fill the stomach. We bring the hunger. We create the game. The problem game. The problem needing resolution game. And that's the game we're playing.
He's lots of bad. The dark side can turn everything into badness, into filth, into...
It's not all bad. It's just that there's good solutions to problems and bad solutions to problems, and there's efficient solutions to problems and inefficient solutions to problems. That could be the argument being made here, is that if you're acknowledging the fact that this is a delicate game to be played, that we understand that it can get way, way, way out of control, that all kinds of horror is possible. If 99% of people's children died before they reached their first birthday, humans would recognize there's a problem. But that's evolution. Retard.
Embarrassing, foul, degrading crap. Love-making becomes sordid fucking, and,
well, I mean, really, if you really have to fableize reality, but I mean, isn't that what it is? And isn't that what's demonstrated by nature? Is that all the animals are doing something that has nothing to do with love? Okay, it really doesn't have anything to do with love. It has to do with some horny desire that needs gratification or satisfaction. They think this is the way to get there. They've seen other people get there this way, so they do what is shown to them to be the proper way to get it done, and the rest of it's possession, and you know it. It's all this alpha ownership shit. Is there something beautiful in that? I don't think so.
Friendship becomes mutual enablement. This kind of thing. You can twist any.
It's not twisting. It's just acknowledging. I mean, this is another one of those things like feelings. If you don't know what good and bad feelings are, do you not realize that most of the time you have a friend because they have some use for you, and that you won't have a friend as soon as you become useless? And that's usually the way it works. That you have to be feeding some need in a person. You have to be complimenting them or doing something useful to them, or they really won't be your friend. It's just the truth.
And this isn't even necessarily twisting. Just looking at it from a different angle. What do all the nice things look like in life through the eyes of your dark side? Look pretty. Again,
the nice things. There's just this assumption that you have a list of these things that are guaranteed nice things. And these unassailable nice things that are somehow getting thrown into the mix and being impugned and insulted as not real nice things. Well, go ahead. Let me hear this. I've asked for it before. What do I get? Sunsets and fucking rainbows. That's all you've got is silly emotional responses. Silly ones. Okay? That don't have anything to do with anything more than what movies you like. Or whether you like fat asses on women. It's just bullshit.
Foul, don't they? They look phony. They look fake, ephemeral, stupid. Only for idiots. Only for naive fools that just...
Well, that's the truth of it, though, right? That's the whole argument being made here that you're so hostile to. Is this argument that, guess what? Those are the only assholes breeding anymore. I mean, once the people figure out the game is, this is, I can get my sex without having babies tied to me. most people choose to say, yeah, fuck that. That's the truth, okay? And the only people breeding are ignorant pigs. You know, people who have certainly aren't living in civilization, and certainly don't have a knowledgeable understanding of reality. They're just being bugs, humping beer bottles.
Want to be hurt the way Smeagol was hurt. Okay, so the dark side goes on the offensive.
Oh, he keeps making these references to you know, movies. You know, Lord of the Rings. I mean, a movie that really doesn't have a whole lot of reality in it, right? I mean, not even close. And ironically, you know, the soldiers are better dressed and have a better life than the average peasant. What's the commentary of the Lord of the Rings? Are there any civilians in the Lord of the Rings who look like they're living a good life, except for the little troll people? And what are they doing? Kissing pigs and rolling pumpkins around all day. Oh, gee, I can't wait till I do that for eternity. Oh, I just couldn't. I mean, I just can't wait to be a hobbit forever. Not. What? Fat, smelly, hairy-footed little troll? Forever? That's paradise? No, I don't think so.
Decide, or when the overall being decides, I'm not going to have a dark side anymore. The way that I get the impression that Vic Mackey is kind of doing that. But again, I don't want to accuse him of anything, because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, whatever. I just think the Vic Mackeys and the logic rolls the dice types, they're just immature. They're just kids playing with language. And they found all these little loopholes in the fact that, you know, our language is thousands of years old and has a lot of imprecision in it, and there's a lot of loose words that don't have really hard definition, and they're just playing with that. And that's all that's happening here. There's nothing else happening. These are just douchebags playing with words.
On inside of them. But of course, you see other people, and you have to, you know, you just observe them, and you say, okay, what makes this other person tick? What's going on in there?
Yeah, I know, that is a mystery, because you just sit here and say, man, you cannot be this fucking stupid. I mean, you really can't. You know, you've read enough to know that humans are full of shit. They're compulsive liars. They're compulsive aggrandizers of a truth. They tell fish stories all over the place. Well, even you've done that in videos. I went to Bangladesh and everybody was killing you. I heroically walked down the street and bought a pack of spearmint gum because I'm a hero. I mean, you know, you can't see that and just laugh at it. It's mockable. This fucking I'm living some grand and important existence because I say so, because I have this idiotic psychological notion that I'm a Jedi and I'm battling Darth Vader and I'm doing all kinds of cool things when you're not doing anything. You're eating and shitting, you know, and you can't even piss properly anymore, according to your own videos. Another liability you're imposing on your child. Ugh.
I may have completely strawmanned Ed Endem as well. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I don't even know if it's a straw man. We can use your scapegoat word or whatever. You're just sitting there saying that no, the only proper thing to hate is intelligence, because ignorance is fun. And yes, addendum is saying, hey, wait a minute, you got it upside down, asshole. Intelligence will let you see just what a wormy, cruddy, slimy, scheming, motherfucking selfish cunt you are, and you can at least recognize that. You don't have to necessarily fix all of it, but you can at least recognize it and say, hey, alright, you're going to have to really force me, okay, when we're talking about something serious, you have to say it's a serious conversation, because if we don't have some way where we say this is a serious conversation, I am going to lie and aggrandize and play loose with the truth to make it turn out that I get more bananas than you get. Because I'm a selfish cunt. And I want what I want. Or something like that. But yeah, I'm not doing this for any other reason than I arrived on Earth. Unlike you people, I didn't get caught up in it and say, gee, this is just so spectacular. I just can't get over how wonderful everything is. No, I kind of got fixated on the fact that there was bugs getting burned off of trees, three-legged dogs, and, you know, neighbors who had, you know, possums in garbage cans and were poking them with sticks. I don't know, you go on, roadkill, you go on, all the little things, all the little parts of life that just added up to, what the fuck kind of horror gristmilly thing is this shit? What kind of slaughterhouse have I arrived into? And everybody's playing slaughterhouse, and I'm supposed to understand slaughterhouse. Well, I don't understand it. Okay, I understand penis, but everything else seems like, and that's the one thing, you're not even supposed to say the word penis. The one thing I understood was the one thing nobody could talk about. So yeah, I didn't understand it, and I still don't get it. Okay, I just don't get what all this fucking gooey ooey bullshit is. Can't anybody go outside and say, okay, yeah, flowers are pretty, but all of this carnage is not. I mean, it isn't. It's Cannibal Island, for fuck's sake. You can't admit that?
These are just opinions of one flawed human being who's attempting to analyze what he sees with his own eyes.
Well, all this presumption of flaw is another thing I find kind of irritating. I mean, flaws should be demonstrated with an argument. I don't see anybody arguing where I have flawed the logic. I just hear accusations of a dogma and a religion that I have of some kind of dogma. What's the fucking dogma? Evolution? So he believes evolution is dogma. He doesn't believe in evolution. He really doesn't. He doesn't understand it as a concept. Doesn't understand it as the consequence of the mechanism. And the consequence is to make tanks. It's a tank making mechanism. And it will, you know, the rules of good tankery are complex for each organism. Some have to play a really simple game. Some, like us, are exploiting a niche where they're playing a really complicated game. But it's still just tank.
And I'm just doing this for illustration's sake. I'm not trying to attack either one of them.
Well, I don't, you know, that's another just, oh, sure you're not. Yeah, you talk about their spewing excremental wand and shit, but you're not, hey, I'm not being derogatory or criticizing in any way. Come on. I mean, even this whole cliche bullshit way of you know, passive-aggressive argumentation, it's just overtly dishonest, and you're claiming that you're taking some kind of high road. Overt dishonesty is the high road. Oh, yeah, sorry, I don't get that.
But you see, the good side, the quote-unquote good side, has many weapons at its disposal.
Yeah, I don't know, the quote-unquote good side, which is what? The bliss of ignorance. Yeah, I'm going to fight that. I'm going to fight the description of that as anything called anything good, in any, whether it's on a side or not. I don't even know whether it is a side. I really don't think it is. I don't think ignorance is a side. It's a pit. Okay? The ignorance pit. And you want to just keep bashing the human race into the ignorance pit. Play the game. Play the game. Quit trying to climb the wall of the maze. Quit trying to understand your place in the universe in any kind of realistic way. Stay with the fables. Stay with the fairy tales. And you're just beating them down off the walls of the maze. Like you're like that orangutan in Planet of the Apes, right? I know that's all bullshit, you know. And he just keeps it a secret from everybody because we're all supposed to just pretend that, you know, chimpanzees and gorillas and orangutans aren't doomed to do the same bullshit that human beings did. And they are doomed.
Disposal as well, and they are equally vicious and devastating.
Vicious. Love is vicious and devastating. This whole bullshit that human beings have to be something other than just things. Okay, I'm a little need bag. I'm a little need bag. Blah, blah. We could sing songs about it. But that I don't have any There's no mission statement here beyond I'm a little need bag. You know, there's no malicious, there's no built in any of that stuff. And it's not until something's, you know, burning my feet off or doing something else to cut at me that I have to fight back. And that's what you're doing. I mean, you're just sitting there mocking suffering, mocking it. Yeah, I have to defend your victims. I have to try to protect them from the rape you're going to impose on them because of your silliness, because of a silly idea in your fucking head that you're accomplishing something. You're winning. I mean, you're just basically just saying, I'm a winner because I have a powerful delusion. Fuck. I mean, I can personally say I'm a winner. I can feel it. I can sense it. That this is a better configuration of human being than the average configuration. I can certainly think that. And, but I'm not going to be saying I'm playing a good game, because there's no good game to play. So yeah, it's like having great athletes and they have to waste their time like throwing spears or spinning lead balls around, or, you know, these dopey events they have to enter, because there's no good sport. There's no good game to play. So you have to play some stupid game. But that's how it is. Yeah, there's just stupid games. You know, there's not a good game to play. Anyway, enough. So anyway, I guess I'll finish these videos eventually. I don't know. They're just so hard to watch. I mean, in the good, on the bright side, the anti-natalist guy, you know, maybe I'll try to find the link, posted a video of Benatar. You know, I guess it's some symposium thingy in South Africa where they were arguing about vegetarianism. So he made like a 10-minute argument, you know, pro-vegan. And, you know, it was pretty good Benatar rhetoric. You know, I mean, you have to respect the guy's logic. I mean, the guy is logical, mostly. You know, so far. Everything I've heard or read has been logical. I haven't read everything he's written. This whole male, you know, poor men are getting some short, sticky thing somewhere. I don't know about that one. I mean, obviously, men are useless now. Okay, I mean, civilization has no use for males because males are, they're just made to be owners and fighters. And, you know, that's our genetic history. And, yeah, that role just doesn't, there's not much use for it anymore. So in that sense, traditional maleness, yeah, it sort of has to go, because it just doesn't have any useful purpose anymore. But that's not women's fault. I mean, women are assholes for a whole set of reasons. And women are, you know, just horrid. You know, I want somebody to love me unconditionally. Huh? What, you mean you want to be loved for not having any merit? Oh, brilliant. Anyway.